Greetings, guys and gals. Welcome back, boys and girls. Did you have a great weekend? Happy Monday. Welcome back to your nightly newsletter. My name is Joseph James with your nightly newsletter for the 7th day of the 4th month of the year. Today is April 7th, 2014. Let's take a look at what we've got going on here today. Now, before we jump into it, I want to remind you guys I have a special invite. I got a free pass for you to come out and join us in our live trade room this afternoon as a guest. Make sure you take me up on that offer. And then as you scroll down here, very important, if you're not watching this on our blog right now, as you can see, we got all the supporting documents here on the blog. So make sure you join our newsletter email list. It's over on the left-hand side at sidewaysmarkets.com. So make sure that you get over to sidewaysmarkets.com and watch this video there, because I've got charts here for you. Well, and I've got a nice easy way for you now to download all of today's content as well as all of the charts that I'm going to go over. If you want to make it a little bit easier on you, you can download all of the commentary, all of the charts, everything I'm going to go over here right now. You can download them all onto your computer and then bring up the video and watch it right along with me, right? How cool is that? So don't forget, register for the newsletter on the left-hand side. Don't forget to register for your free pass to attend our live trade room. And click right here to download today's newsletter, charts, and commentary. All right. Got a great newsletter here for you guys this evening. Here's what to expect out of today's newsletter. First of all, markets today. We're getting reaction to Friday's non-farm payrolls. Very interesting the way the markets are reacting right now. Stick around for more information on that. We'll talk about the news today. It was a lonely day on the economic calendar. We'll take a look at what happened, and we'll prep for tomorrow's news. We'll also take a look at this day in history. Mr. Herbert Hoover had the first long-distance television broadcast. We'll talk about that in a moment. We'll take a look at tomorrow's news. We get another empty calendar for tomorrow. We'll talk about that in a moment. And we will take out a look at some chart prep here today. We got crude trading sideways, Russell selling off, and, well, I'll tell you, who knows where gold's going next. So stick around today, a little bit of what happened today, prep for tomorrow, and then we're going to roll up our sleeves and grab some charts. First of all, reflections from today. What happened in the markets today? Crude oil, up and down, sideways, and back to $100 a barrel. We've been talking about this for the past few weeks. Crude continues to use $100 a barrel as a little bit of a crutch, and that's exactly what we love about this market. Buying lows, selling highs, using that $100 a barrel big round number as an easy profit target. So up, down, and sideways. Crude had a relatively typical range today, 140 ticks of range, and a closing print, as you can see here, just above that $100 per barrel. So as you can see, stuck in the mud here on crude as we pushed lower today, but really for a sideways range we saw today. On gold, now I had to check the calendar this morning because I thought we might have missed a holiday on gold today. It was very quiet on gold today. We got some big clues on the charts, though, so we want to keep in mind. We'll grab some charts in just a few moments. We're still trading range bound here, right around the 1,300 big round number. So, boy, you can see crude oil taking shelter from the storm at its big round number. Gold takes shelter at another big round number. It's very clear to see there's something coming here, guys. Something coming. They're waiting on something. Look at the narrow range out of gold today. 70 ticks. 70. That's it. 70 ticks of range. That's a sniffle for gold. So very, very narrow range today. And remember, narrow ranges usually result in big, wide ranges the following day. So stick around with me. I want to grab a look at those charts and show you guys where we're likely headed for tomorrow on gold. Closing print here just below the 1,300. Tough to say what that really tells us, but 1,300 is pretty much where we are right now on gold. Mini Russell was the easy money today. We had some definite profit taking today after Friday's non-farm payroll report. And we remember that it all began last Friday afternoon. As that day started to come to a close, we started to see those profit taking, sellers into the market. Today we had a relatively wide range. We had 220 ticks of range today on the Russell, so it was a pretty wide sell-off here as far as range goes. A wide day today usually means a narrow day tomorrow. You can see here we got a closing print here just below 1135, so down 161 basis points, 1.61% we go down today. So crude pretty much a sniffle lower, gold really narrow today. Russell was the big mover. Equity markets, I'll tell you, these E-minis continue to be the market to beat right now, and we find more opportunities every day. Get off my screen. We find more opportunities every day to trade the E-minis. So come out and join us tomorrow in our trade room, and we'll continue to trade those E-minis, making some great money on this morning. News today. No major news on the schedule for today, right? So what happened in the news today? Yeah, we don't have this very often, but the Monday following non-farm payrolls will always be a day without any major news. So really right now, markets are digesting Friday's non-farm payroll report. As you can imagine, with something that is as important as Friday's non-farm payroll report, all the analysts are trying to figure out where are we going next here. How about some This Day in History? One of my favorite parts of our newsletter. This Day in History, April 7th, 1913. 5,000 plus women gather on the Capitol Hill lawn in Washington, D.C. out of protest for the rights for women to vote, right? It's called women's suffrage. Make sure you click on this link right here, guys. That's a hyperlink for you. And check out some of those pictures they took. Pretty remarkable, right? To think that these brave women, remember, these women were brave people. They were brave souls. They came from everywhere and demanded that, right? Well, read the link, right? Check it out. Kids, if you don't know that at one time in our history women weren't allowed to vote, you need to know that. So take the time out of your day, learn more about the women's suffrage movement. This Day in History, April 7th, 1927. This is pretty cool. Herbert Hoover, say that 10 times fast. Herbert Hoover, speaking from Washington, D.C., uses the first long-term television broadcast to communicate with people in New York City. The amazing thing about this was the news headlines. The news headlines the next day said, yeah, but I doubt they're going to find any way to use this for commercial use. Yeah, you're right. I don't think the television set has any possibility of becoming mainstream with consumers. Yeah, so 1927, the first long-distance television broadcast. Again, click on that link right there, right? Follow that hyperlink. Check out some of those pictures, 1927. Pretty cool stuff. To think how far we've come from 1927, right? Boy, almost 100 years ago now. And then, of course, news for tomorrow. We've got another barren session tomorrow. We've got some minor news out of Europe starting at 3 a.m. I've got 2:45, 3 o'clock, 3:30, so very minor news tomorrow morning out of Europe. But that might be enough to spark some movement in the European session, so be ready for that tomorrow. We have no major news tomorrow in the U.S. session. We do have tomorrow morning a news report, which is called the JOLTS at 10 a.m. The job openings and layoffs, something, can't forget what that means, but it's a very minor report. It's a relatively new report, so it's kind of being investigated by traders. We'll watch it tomorrow, but you can pretty much bank on the fact that any movement we see tomorrow at 10 a.m. will just be because of that 10 a.m. Reversal that we tend to see, right? 10 a.m. is a very common time for a price reversal. We also have tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow afternoon, and there's a spreadsheet down here, there's a worksheet down here for you. Tomorrow afternoon, we get a whole plethora, a little potpourri, right? A whole bouquet of Fed speakers, right? Starting tomorrow afternoon. So we may get some reaction to those Fed speakers tomorrow. Tough to say exactly what it will be, but again, tomorrow we've got no major news. And remember, this is typical for those Mondays and Tuesdays after non-farm payrolls because with so much that came out on Friday morning, we do expect to see the market continue to digest, right, this report that we saw on Friday. So another day of relatively quiet news. But guys, I'd be lying to you if I said we weren't going to be listening in to China, Russia, Ukraine. We've got Fed speakers tomorrow afternoon. You know, this situation in Ukraine between Ukraine and Russia, it just began to escalate now. In fact, if you read the news headlines this morning, they're saying this is as hostile of an environment it's been since it began. It's amazing how the news media just glosses right over, right, now the fact that it's been a couple weeks here. So all hell broke loose, 4 or 5 weeks ago when this whole issue between Crimea region, Russia, right, Ukraine, and of course, from what I've been told and what the news wires have said, the situation seems to be escalating in the Crimea region of Ukraine. So that's going to be a headline we'll be watching for tomorrow morning. We, of course, will always be listening to see what happens overnight coming out of China. And so tomorrow, we're going to try to read between the lines. We'll listen in closely to see what news comes unexpectedly, and we'll look for the reaction of that news accordingly. Again, there's your economic calendar here. Now remember, you can download all of this stuff by going right to the top of our blog there and clicking that link I gave you. So listening in tomorrow, right, making sure we keep an eye out for whatever might come out, especially if we're talking about crude, whatever's happening in the Ukraine, all right? That's going to be the next big kind of pressure cooker there for crude. So crude oil, keep an eye on that $100 per barrel. Let's jump right into some charts here right now. Going to go relatively quickly through these charts here this evening. A little bit less time than I would like to have on this. As you can see, though, we opened up lower today. This all because of news that came out of China here early evening on Sunday evening. This, of course, pushed the crude to gap down. We then filled the gap. We actually bought that this morning in the trade room. Well, I think while everybody else was short, we were buying in the trade room today. We filled that gap and then whoop, took it right back down. Good money there on crude. Sorry for that snowstorm there. So we saw, let's see here. Looking at the VIP chart analysis, we opened up bearish, closed bearish, volume bearish, 2-day relationship bearish, range is typical, right? If it was a very narrow range, I would say tomorrow's going to be a wide range day. If today was a very wide range, I would say tomorrow is likely to be a narrower day. Not the case, though. If I had to guess right now, I've got bearish clues around every corner. But again, I've got to be patient here. We've got some fundamentals that we can't ignore right now. So here's the most important thing for tomorrow. Clearly we're bearish tonight, but will this continue into tomorrow? If we have some violence break out in Crimea, if things start to escalate between Russia and Ukraine, you can bet we're going to go right to that prior week high at 101.97. So I want you guys to keep an eye on these levels for tomorrow. And for the rest of the week, I might add, the prior week high and the prior week low. I would assume if the issue escalates in Crimea, we immediately jump up above the 102 area. 101.97 is the prior week high. If we don't get anything tomorrow out of Crimea, we'll probably end up continue going lower. I'm definitely going to use that prior week low at 98.86 as a profit target. If we get below that prior week low, well, let's make sure we know what the rest of the charts look like here. But basically, tomorrow morning, an opening print below 99.92 and I'm bearish, above 101.32 and I'm bullish. If we open up inside the range tomorrow, we're going to be really careful waiting to see what the opening bell and what the opening bell analysis tells us. So stay patient tomorrow, but we may wake up tomorrow morning in the U.S. and we may have a rocket ship higher because of this issue developing in Crimea. We'll have to wait and see. I'm not going to predict right now. All I know is tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock on crude, I'm looking at the opening bell. If it's above today's highs, I'm bullish. Below today's lows, I'm bearish. Inside today's range, I'm neutral. Let's keep going. Crude, here's my 64 anchor. You can see we're still stuck in the mud here around this 100. The easiest level within striking distance is 103.07. Keep an eye out for resistance at 103.07. Down lower here, 92.11, 93.53. I don't think we're going to get that far tomorrow morning, so I would use the 96.89 as support. So support levels here, 96.89, 95.19, and again 93.53. Resistance levels, 103.07, 103.85, 104.75. What my plan is to use that big round number as my target. So as we go higher, I'm selling. As we go lower, I'm buying. And again, one very important thing, I'm going to remind you one more time, if we have this situation escalate in Crimea, this all changes. And now our target is up here at 107. All right. If this changes between now and tomorrow morning, and remember, come out and see me tomorrow morning in the trade room. We'll analyze the whole scenario together, right? You're not going to do this alone if you're with me tomorrow in the trade room, right? That's the benefit of being with me in the trade room tomorrow. We're going to analyze this in real time tomorrow morning, and we'll make an educated decision on whether or not we should be using 100 as the target. But basically, as we stand right now, buying lows, selling highs, continuing to use $100 a barrel as my profit target. And then Mama said, don't you fiddle with that middle, JJ. There we are, right inside the middle of that range. There's the big round number of $100 a barrel. You can see we've drawn some trend lines up from the lows, drawn some trend lines down from the highs. This is exactly what I was referring to before. I'm going to sell the highs. As you can see, I've given you 4 different levels there to look for selling opportunities. I'm going to buy the lows, 99.48, 99.18. We may get a chance to buy this trend line here, right? So we may get a chance, depending on when this price gets down here, to buy that trend line. So bottom line is, guys, the way we see it right now, again, unless things escalate in the Crimea region, we're going to be buying lows and selling highs. But gosh, stay away from the middle of this range, guys. Sell those highs, 101.26, 101.40, 101.52, and 101.85. Take your profit down the lows, buy those lows, 99.48, 99.18. And again, keep an eye on the trend lines, because these trend lines, if they get in our way, I don't want you to miss that potential reversal off those lows. All right, guys? So don't fiddle with that middle. Keep an eye out on the crude for that dollar, that $100 a barrel. And again, keep your ears open, your ears and eyes open for news coming out of Russia and the Crimea region of Ukraine going into tomorrow morning's opening bell. Moving now from the black gold to that yellow gold, right? The gold. Now, I know, looking at this chart going, oh, what do we do with this? Well, first of all, here's my 1300, right? There's your big round number. That's what's causing all this slop and chop right now. Remember, when you guys see a big round number like this, you got to think, clearly we're waiting on something here, because if the buyers had strength, if the buyers had reason to be bullish, we wouldn't be here. We'd be pushing higher. If the sellers had reason to be bearish, we'd be pushing lower. Now, think about what happened. We had a very disappointing number came out of non-farm payrolls on Friday. We had a very lackluster report out of the ECB last Thursday. Those were 2 very important news reports. We had a couple more news conferences today out of the ECB. So we have thrown the kitchen sink at this gold. Gold should be moving like a banshee right now after that news report came out, but it's not. And oftentimes, as day traders, we forget some very obvious clues. What should be happening is not happening. That's a big, big red flag. So we should be moving here on gold, but we're not. That clearly tells me, as a lonely old day trader, I don't have a whole army of analysts. I don't have billions of dollars, right, to go investigate and test out new trading or new price levels. I'm a lonely old day trader, just like you and I. So right now, my biggest fear right now is trying to force this gold. They're clearly waiting on something, boys and girls. Keep an eye out with the previous week's high, previous week's low. Those are going to be very strong price magnets as we try to push higher or as we try to push lower. It's very difficult right now because we have an open in the middle. I mean, we're talking middle. This is like ridiculous middle. Volume, middle. Open, middle. Close, middle. Everything neutral, and a very narrow range. Now, I think the biggest clue that we get off this gold chart is that narrow range. 70 ticks. That's it. So a narrow range happened on Thursday last week, and then look at the range that followed. Remember, narrow range turns into a big range the following day. Don't say I didn't warn you. All right, let's keep going. Gold is stuck in the mud here at this 1287 to 1262. If we end up going higher, I've got resistance here at 1334, pretty much 1335. If we go lower, I'm going to grab some support here at 1262.8. And then we got, of course, 1227.3 below us. Big problem, though, right now. We have not been able to get out of this area around this 1300. So it's very, very obvious right now that gold traders, they're waiting on something. And as a day trader ourselves, we have to be careful not to try to force things right now, because we can't move this market. We've got to wait for the big boys and girls to start participating here on gold. It's not going to last too much longer. Trust you me. Gold is too active a market. This is only temporary. Now, we can see here we've got higher highs, higher lows, with the exception of just recently moving below a key moving average. It looks relatively bullish, but it's a little bit misleading, because if you notice down bottom here, look at that. There's the 7th, right? There's your 6th. There's your 4th. So this is what gold usually does in one morning. This is the last 4 days. So you can see there hasn't been a lot of range. This has been the quietest we've seen gold in quite some time. As you can see, though, we are ready to go buying right now. But what I do need, though, is I need to see a reaction higher. If I can get a reaction here, I'm going to start buying pullbacks using the wave pattern, and my target overhead will be 13.15. Again, I'm concerned about this personality right now stuck around this 1300. As you can see, though, I've given you guys plenty of buying opportunities here as we pull back, but I'm very concerned about the personality right now. What I would do is I would not blindly buy right now. I would wait to get a new higher high, maybe get me above 1302, and then start looking for those wave patterns to get long. You're going to know right away if those buyers are really strong or not. And if their strength is there, we're going to look to buy. But I'm resting easy right now on gold. I'm going to take it easy here on gold because it's a little bit iffy here with that personality we saw today. Tomorrow morning's opening bell on gold will be very, very important for us. Moving here now to the mighty mini Russell, the big mover today. We had that big sell-off on Friday on the Russell, again, after non-farm payrolls came out. Today, that sell-off continued, and you can see a very small range compared to Friday's range, but still a wonderful look at a continuation here going lower on the Russell. So very easy to see. E-minis are getting clobbered here right now. Opening print at the lows, right? Very, very important. We opened up below Friday's low. We closed here in the middle, neutral. Volume in the middle, neutral. 2-day range is lower. So it looks like we're slightly bearish. We're about neutral right now. We got a couple neutral clues. We got a couple bearish clues. I have a funny feeling we're going to be in for a large move here coming later on this week. It's tough to tell, though, when. First of all, keep an eye out. Prior week high, prior week low. We are below the prior week low. Members, we call this the inside-out setup, where we go outside and then back in, right? That's called the inside-out trade setup. Look out for that tomorrow. The prior week low. Here's what I want. If I can get an opening print tomorrow, remember 9:30 opening bell, opening print tomorrow above the 1147 even, or an opening print tomorrow below the 25.2. Those are going to be the hot spots tomorrow at 9:30. I would love to get long tomorrow morning above that 1147, but I've got to wait to see what the opening bell looks like. Same thing tomorrow morning below 25.2. If we continue this sell-off, well, let's see how far down we can sell short. So 1125.2. If we open up below 1125.2, how do we look for tomorrow? Oh, baby. It looks like tomorrow could be one of those days. Now, if you remember, we had this price wedge that we were trading inside of last week. And so we sold the highs of that wedge, and that was what began this big sell-off here going into non-farm payroll Friday. Well, we broke through the 1141.1, right? That was prior support tested there. Now we're settling in here, getting comfy at this 1125.2. So we're sitting here at 1125.2. Now I want you to remember the VIP chart above 1147. We have the inside out setup that could possibly send us right back to last Friday's high. Or below 25.2, do we have enough room? Let's take a look. Yeah, I would say we got enough room. Here's what I got to worry about tomorrow, though. Make sure we get that opening print below 25.2. If we don't get the opening bell below 25.2, be very careful trying to be the first person in that short down to 11.02. We got a nice big round number waiting for us there at 1100. So if we see an opening bell tomorrow morning below 25.2, we're selling off here short, looking for selling opportunities down to 1102.5. If we open up here tomorrow and we're above the 41.1, what was it again? I forgot. 47. So tomorrow morning we get above 47. That means inside out setup. We're going higher here. Use that resistance there at 1158.2. I'm bearish right now. I'm below all the key moving averages. I have lower highs. I got lower lows. There's no reason to think we should be bullish, but I will gladly take some short-term scalps going up to that 1165 to 1158. But then that's where it stops, though. I'm now looking for selling opportunities here at these resistance zones overhead. 1158.2 and 1177 even. Those are my numbers for selling opportunities later on this week. And then if you're looking for a place to get short right now, this is the place to be. We've got lower lows, lower highs, a little bit of a hiccup here on the way lower. You can see we've already tested that resistance zone here. But as we go lower, I'm looking for selling opportunities here overnight and into tomorrow morning at 36.1, 39.2, and 47.2. I have targets below me at 25.2. That number should ring a bell. 15.5 and 09.7. So we should be very familiar with that 25.2. And then I got 15.5 and 09.7. If you're a seller here on the Russell right now, you've got all the room you need to breathe. Just grab it short here at 36.1, 39.2, or 47.2. And remember, make sure you find that entry pattern. I'm not just sticking a sell order here. That will be a little bit ridiculous. I'm going to wait for price to test the area. Once it starts to move my direction, then I find those entry patterns, and I'm going to use these targets here for my runner profit targets as I scale out, right, as a scalper in our live trade room tomorrow morning. Speaking of our live trade room, I want to encourage you guys to come out and join me tomorrow morning, every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Head over to schooloftrade.com. And while you're there, check out our free trial. Our free trial is, you're going to learn more during your free trial than you will with a paid service anywhere else on the web. Don't believe me? I wouldn't blame you. Don't take my word for it. Go check it out yourself. Register for the free trial. Make sure you check your email to validate your email address, and you'll be in like Flint, right? You will not be disappointed. You can learn more about our 3 membership levels over at schooloftrade.com. You can also get somebody on the phone here anytime you want, 24/7. We've got somebody standing by to help you. I want to thank you guys and gals for stopping in tonight and watching our nightly newsletter. Don't forget, you can download a full copy of that newsletter as well as all the charts that I've gone over today. That way you can have them ready for tomorrow. Just follow that hyperlink and download it from slideshare.net. Guys and gals, don't forget to join the trial. Don't forget to register for our newsletter, and we'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I open up my live trade room. Come out and join me. We'll take all these charts that we looked over this evening, and we'll profit from them together tomorrow morning. Signing off now from our corporate headquarters, School of Trade headquarters in Los Angeles, California. From the entire team here at SOT, my name is Joseph James. Make sure you earn it so you can learn it. Or backwards, make sure you learn it so you can earn it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, or tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for tomorrow's nightly newsletter. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.